Hi, welcome back to my channel and thank you for tuning in. So today we'll be talking about what no one tells you about raising a child, especially in the United Kingdom. But before we delve in seriously into this, 4 factors here in raising a child. The first one is sort of good news that the United Kingdom is ranked the 6th in the whole world after America in the ease of parenting. Then the second factor is pressure, whether it's internal or external pressure that parents face. The third one is that 2 in 5 parents experience loneliness, especially in the few months of welcoming their baby. Then the fourth point here is 82% of parents in the United Kingdom talked about the financial impact of raising a child. Now let's dissect this. The number 1 point, like I said, UK ranked number 6th in the whole world after America in the ease of raising a child. For me, it's good that they do some of these studies, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter the part of the world where you are. As a parent, what matters to you, well, I'm talking about my own experience, what matters to you is just to give your children the best. What matters to you is being a responsible parent, okay? So the ease they're talking about, I don't know. That's something out there for you to consider that is ranked number 6 in the ease of parenting. So the second point, which for me is the main point here, is the pressure. The internal pressure and the external pressure. Now let me explain. The internal pressure ranges from you as a parent welcoming a child into the world. It is an enormous responsibility. Why do I say this? Because this is a life. This is somebody that you're going to be responsible for until they are adults, until they grow up and become an adult. So you're solely responsible for them. You know, sometimes you're thinking in your head that you still got a lot of things you want to do for yourself, about yourself, and suddenly you're going to be a parent and you're thinking, whoa. Some people are relaxed about it, but I believe that, you know, being a first-time parent, you will be anxious. Honestly, it's okay for you to be anxious because you're wondering, what kind of a child are you gonna give birth to? Are they growing okay? Is everything gonna be okay? Are you going to be a good parent? Are you going to be a good mom, a good dad? You know, you start thinking, what would you do? You start reading up books, start watching some videos about becoming good parenting. Without us realizing that, I did same. I told myself I want to give my children the best. So I was researching, I was reading, without actually knowing that I'm giving myself some pressure there. But it's a subtle pressure. It's an internal pressure because it's coming from me per se. I didn't think too much about it. And it doesn't end there. Now, when finally the child is born, you're watching your child. You're thinking, are they developing well? Are they achieving their milestone? Is anything wrong with the child? And that's where the external pressure comes in. The external pressure could be from friends and family. Oh, when my child was 2 months old, they've started running. Have you heard that before? When somebody will come and tell you, oh, my daughter, my son start speaking when they were 6 months old. And you're there looking at your 8 to 9 months baby. You're thinking, is anything wrong with this baby? I'm sorry, bro. Oh, dear. Did you go through that? Did you experience that? You know, sometimes people, bless them, not intentionally, but everyone thinks that their child is the best, is it not? So they come and tell you that this child started doing this at this age, this child started doing this at this age, at that age, and you're there as a mom, as a new mom. You start thinking, what is wrong with my child? And that is why most books that you read or most videos or things like that will tell you that every child develops at their own pace. Every child is different. That this happened to Mr. A doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen to Mr. B. You see, so every child develops at their pace. So the most important thing as a parent is just for you to make sure that the child is attaining that milestone. So this pressure from people at that early stage, and it doesn't get better, because when the child starts growing up, people start judging you. Oh, look at what she did, she's not a good parent. Maybe the way you spoke to the child, or maybe the child does something. Children, they are sweet, but sometimes they can be naughty. So some people, if they can just understand that, if they could just have that in their head and not be so judgmental, your child could be very okay now, then the next minute, maybe you've taken the child to the shop and they want something which you've refused to buy. The child kicks off big time. That other parents with children, they'll be passing by you and they'll be looking at you as though you don't know what you're doing. And as a mom, as a dad, you start thinking, maybe I am not doing what I'm supposed to do right. You start letting those external pressures get to you. Now, another external pressures that parents face is about finances, but that's the point number 4, which I'm going to talk about. So parents go through these pressures, and especially in the United Kingdom, where you don't have help. I've seen so many people, trying to make ends meet. When you have a child, things change. When it's just the man and the woman, you get up in the morning, you go to your work, you don't have any business with anybody. Sometimes your neighbors won't even know you're there. But as soon as the child comes, from the crying of the child, if the child is not sleeping, a lot of things happen for your neighbor to know that, oh, they hear a cry of a child. Suddenly they know, okay, oh, they have a new baby. And sometimes, with due respect to some neighbors, there are blessed neighbors out there, but there are some people that are just like monitoring spirits, my sisters. They are there listening in, monitoring, trying to, find out what is happening in your home, whether you're actually taking care of the child or not, as if they are the ones that gave birth to the baby. If you're not careful, sometimes they call the police on you. When that child is growing up, things start changing, is it not? One, as a parent, you might want to go back to work. And how are you going to go back to work when you have a baby now? What are you going to do? You start looking for a place to put this child. And child minding is a lucrative business in the United Kingdom here. Oh, nobody told me that. Maybe I should have done a course on child minding. Child minding is a lucrative business. So some people pay as far as 2,000. It depends on your capability. Yeah, you could still child minding of 700-800, but that is the lowest. And especially if you're putting your child maybe every day. I gather if you want to put your child in a good child minding, because as a parent you want the best for the child, is it not? So you're thinking, okay, which one is a reputable child minding here where to put my child? If it's gonna be 5 days a week, my darling, you're talking about close to 2 grand. Life of hustling and bustling, that's what you do Monday to Friday. And when this money is paid, you're taking a chunk amount of that money to pay a childminder. You're paying a childminder. It's not easy. Nobody tells you this. Nobody, sits you down when you're coming to the United Kingdom to tell you about it. A couple of weeks ago, a man and a woman was arrested. They left the 2 children to go out to go hunt for a job. And guess what? The neighbor called the police because the neighbor is monitoring them. That's why I said your neighbor, if you have good neighbors, thank God. But you have some neighbors that are like monitoring spirits. They monitor what you do. So be careful. This neighbor called the police and the police came, took the 3 children. As I'm telling you now, this case is still pending. They are begging, crying to get their children back. So you have a lot of pressure. You have external pressure, you have internal pressure. It's not easy. In Africa, you have families that can help. You have people that will rally around you when you've given birth. The 3rd point, 2 in 5 parents in United Kingdom complain about loneliness after welcoming their first baby. It's real, just like I talked about now. That's another pressure, is it not? They feel lonely because there's nobody there to support them. They feel lonely because it's just the man and the woman. Imagine if you have a child who is always crying and crying and crying. You just need a break. That's why most women, they go through, if not carefully observed and monitored, they go through postnatal depression. You see the woman having depression because it's a lot. It's a lot. Being a first-time parent, raising a child, not just first-time parents anyway. Imagine you have 2 or 3 other children and you have this child. You have your 3rd child, or you have your 2nd child, and the child is crying and crying, and as parents, you can't really do anything. What would you do? Sometimes you end up crying with that child because it's a lot. So they feel lonely because there is nobody to support. Here, you know, this nuclear style of family, nuclear style of living is just you and the man and your child. You're not too good though. It's good because it's just you and your family, you do your thing. But sometimes it's not good because if you have that community, if you have that family member, you know, coming, staying with you, don't get me wrong, it's not all the people in Britain that are like that. You'd be surprised. You go to places, you know, like the family, they are all, you know, closely united and they do things and you're wondering, wow, you got a large family. But you have some that is just them. You just have the man and the woman and the child. When the pressure starts setting in, you see the woman getting into depression because it's just a lot for her. It's just a lot for her to take in. It's just too much. That's why the research that was done confirmed that 2 in 5 parents in the UK suffer from loneliness. Nobody will tell you this, oh. When you're becoming a parent in the United Kingdom, nobody gives you this information. So you've got to watch out. Life is ups and downs. Life is so busy that nobody, even to call somebody on the phone sometimes, is difficult. You are on your own. That is the truth. That is a fact. When you come to United Kingdom, you are on your own. So raising a child in the United Kingdom is not easy. The final point that I made, 82% of parents confirmed and complained about the financial impact of raising a child. I read somewhere, actually in the Times, that to raise a child from day 1 of that child's birth to 18, an average parent will be spending £202,000. 202,000. That's one child. From their first year to 18, you're spending £202,000. Imagine when you have 2 or 3. So the financial impact, yes, it's real. Who's telling you this? They'll tell you, oh, this is free, this is free. Or when you come to UK, yes, if it's government school that you want your child to go to, you get free education when the child is 3. But from year 1, from when the child is 1 year old to that 3 years old, you don't really get anything. If you want the child to go to childminder, you pay the money. You're the one who's paying. You're the one footing the bill. Now there is a legislation that they just passed that they will help working parents regarding childcare. But this legislation is not gonna come into effect, I gather, either 24. It's not happening today. So maybe in year 24 or 25, as the case may be, this legislation will be signed into law and, lucky for the parents then that are just having children. So that will go a long way to help them. But for today, as of the time I'm doing this video, you don't get help. If you need a child care, especially if you're a foreigner, even the people who are here, to be honest, you pay a certain amount of money. Say, for example, the child care, if it's 2 days a week and they're charging 500, the government pays 10% of 500. How much is that? So you're still gonna cough out 400 plus, is it not? So you pay for it. You just pay for it. So the financial impact in raising a child in the United Kingdom is high. It is high. It is so high. So these are things that people don't tell you about raising. Nobody tells you this about raising a child in the United Kingdom. Now, will I have it any other way? No. Because you come to a country, you accept the good, the bad, is it not? you try to make the best of it. Because in Africa, where I'm coming from, you can compare and contrast. You have the good side, like for example, like I mentioned, when you have a child in Africa, your family, everyone is around you. It's sweet. That's one of the things I missed so much, This one will cook, this one will bring. So, there are good things in different parts of the world. But the security and the level of education as well, when you compare them, you think, for me, I think the British system of education, for me, is better. You may disagree with me, and I respect that, but I think it's better. So there are pros and there are cons. There are pros in Africa, there are cons as well. But I just thought to bring this to limelight because sometimes people don't know, especially if you're coming to United Kingdom. You've got to prepare. You've got to prepare just, not just yourself, not just your financial capability. You've got to prepare your mindset. The way you treat your child or tell your child off in Africa is not the way you do it here. You tell the child off, you shout at the child, they look at you, they say you are abusing or you're bullying your child. So there are differences. And when you smack the child, somebody sees you, they call the police on you, my sister, my brother. They call the police on you. And even when they don't see you, the child goes to school and the teacher questions the child. For example, oh, Patrick, how was your day yesterday? Can you tell me what you did? And the child, innocently start talking about how his evening or afternoon went. And the child mentioned that he did something that your mom asked me or spanked me. That is going into the folder, is recorded. It does not end there. The teacher has the duty. Yes, the teacher has the duty to report that incident. It's called safeguarding children. So even your neighbor who is in healthcare hears or sees something that you're doing that is not acceptable, my darling, they will report it. Sometimes it's not because they hate you, to be honest. It's because they have that duty of care to that child, because it's a vulnerable child and they believe that what you're doing is wrong. But in Africa, it's okay. You can do whatever. You can leave your child at home. You can go out and you can come back. A child who is 7 years will be looking after another child that is 2 years. Here, my love, you can't do that. Even a child who is 16, the law says that a child who is 16 is able to look after themselves. But a child who is 16 cannot look after another child. So you can't have a 16-year-old here and decide to leave a child of 2 years with a 16-year-old. Now, abuse be that though. That's abuse. You can't do that. Because if you do that, they find out. You can do that and get away with it. But if you do that and your neighbor observes and keeps observing and reports that, you are in trouble. So these are the things that people don't tell you. If there's anything you'd like me to discuss, please comment below. I will talk about it and I will share also my experiences and my thoughts with you all. Thank you today for watching. Honestly, I love you all. I am grateful, for all of you who have subscribed. Thank you once again. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up for me. See you in my next video. Bye-bye.